In this video, I'm going to explain how the future building projects column works. Essentially, what it does is it counts the total number of projects at an institution. And the way it does that is by counting the total number of text entries, that's like the to be determines, and the numerical entries, like the actual sizes. The reason why I'm explaining this is because in order to get around a very specific problem, which I'll explain in a second, I had to make it include text entries. And so instead of being able to just say, okay, count everything between, the top of McMaster's projects down to the bottom right there, it would, because I've told it to include text entries, it would count this header here, use, or sorry, it counts based on the size column. So it would count all of these size column header names. It would count those entries, and so it would give you an erroneous number. To get around that, I made it the formula a little bit tedious. It's a bunch of different ranges, and so it's just counting the projects between these headers. And the reason I've split these headers up is because in this particular capital plan, it's separated the priority levels. So to give some visibility to the spreadsheet, there's a high priority level that is partially funded, and then there's some that are unfunded, just to give some more understanding. So that's why they're split up by these long rows that are merged together. So instead of, to get around the formula counting these size headers, I gave it the unique ranges. So the reason why this is important is because when you're introducing new projects to institutions, if you have some piece of information from a contact and there's a new project, you're going to have to insert a line. You're going to have to like right click this row and then insert a row below. But the range won't change. It won't. Well, if it's above the bottommost row, it will accommodate. It'll stretch the range. But if you were to like insert below here, we will see that the range hasn't changed. I'll click this and I'll click this so the color coding shows up again. It hasn't stretched down to include this bottom one. And so the safest way to do this is to insert new projects above the bottommost entry. For the most part, you won't be changing these ones because these are from old plans. So I've already pulled all of the projects from those plans, and those plans aren't likely to change, especially if they're 4 years old like this one is. Actually, that's 2021 and 2022, but the other one down here is 2017. So it's not likely to change. But if you had your own list of new projects, say you took my list here, you wanted to add some to the bottom, so we'll just insert below. And then you had, like, let's just say this was all merged like this. And then you just said, new projects 2021 and on, right? And then that's a header, and we could color it, but I'm not going to. And then you just had, say, project 1, and then we know that we have to make the name here, McMaster University, because that's how the summary tab knows that this project belongs to McMaster, like we went over. The range won't be updated, and that's because it's below the bottommost entry. These projects here for McMaster specifically aren't included in that counting range because they belong to a plan that I wasn't able to find. If I click the color coding and go back down, I wasn't able to find this recreation plan online, and so I made the range end at the projects that I could verify. So if you inserted anything below, it would not know that it belongs to that range. So you'd have to tell it. So you could just extend the range, say to 76, and it would do that, and then you'd have to do that for the other part of the formula. There's two parts to the formula. Oops, that's 706. 76. There's two parts to the formula for each range. And the first part, this one, is just telling it count all text entries, and the second one is telling it count all numerical entries. So when you're changing these ranges, just go to the color coding and just make sure if you're editing this first orange range, for example, you'd like edit this down to 17, and you'd edit the other one down to 17 as well, because when you've made it from 10 to 17 here, and this is 10 to 16, it thinks it's different ranges. But if you tell it if it's the same numbers, it knows it's the same range. So you just have to be conscious that there are two components to every range that you'll need to update if you're inserting new projects. Unless, like I said, you have your own header down here, and then you made your range from like here down to here to, like, let's just say project 1. So we know the size is like 1,000. and then you've got this project number N that I've included as a stopgap measure against this. You could just insert, or let's just say we have 2 projects, because if you have 1, it's not going to extend anything. There's nothing to extend. So say, I'm sorry, this is getting a little complicated. I'll try to wrap up here. And this is 2000. And let's say that that counting range included these. If I inserted a new entry above here, it's in the middle of the start and end, so it will extend that range. It's not going to cut it in half. It's just if you insert anything below or above that range, it won't stretch it. It's a little annoying. Anyways, that's all to say. Be cautious of adding things on the outside of ranges, and understand how this is counting things. It really shouldn't come up that often, but if it does, you can always like this video and listen to me rant for like 10 minutes again. But that's how you do it.